Stations like KRCB and KRCB in particular have a real opportunity to occupy a space in a community that taps into the reservoir of trust that's already here and that builds on it. And that in building on it, it's not for the sake of the station, because we have too many organizations and communities that are primarily focused on their own survival and their own good as opposed to the common good. But it's to tap into this reservoir and to expand the space that they're occupying because it's in service of the community. One role is they can be a candid friend to the community. We don't have enough organizations or groups left in our communities that can hold up a mirror to us so that we can see our shared reality, not just our individual realities. We did a lot of work with newspapers in the 90s, and the phrase we landed on was a candid friend, which is you have affection for the community, so that as you're doing it, you're not trying to bash the community, you're not trying to guilt people into things, you're trying to be an honest friend about how people see where we are. Which doesn't mean you're a booster. It just means that you understand that your actions have ramifications. They have consequences. I think there's a particular kind of story we need to tell, which is rooted more in parables, because parables implicate the people who are listening or watching them or reading them. And I think we want to tell stories that help people see that we're on a journey. Part of the parable is we fell down and we got back up, we dusted ourselves off, we figured out a different way to do it. Now this goes back to the organic stuff, because if you were implementing a project, you'd never tell a parable. You'd hire a public relations firm, right? So in parables, actually they don't need to be packaged. They need to be authentic, they need to be real. Forget the word authentic, they just need to be real. And like all good parables, they're not closed-ended, they're open-ended in the sense that there's some lesson in it for us to take away that relates to our own lives, not just the people in the parable. I think the power of public media to be a convener, an honest convener. You know, everyone thinks about opening space up on the air. I actually think one of their most powerful roles is opening up space off air. I think there's some really interesting ways that you can combine on air and off air, particularly around engagement, with social media, with public, on air things that help sustain things, that help people connect, that help people plan things together. And I think public media can be the backbone of some of that. We need to have enough humility to start small and build, as opposed to starting too big and failing. And I think the name of the game right now is restoring people's faith in themselves individually and us collectively that we can get things done. Which issue you start with, I think strategically has a lot of implications for your effort. I'm not sure I would take the most complicated issue first. In fact, I would take the least complicated issue first. I would take the issue that has the lowest hanging fruit. I also believe that most change right now starts through pockets. It doesn't start across the board. It's very hard to create systemic-wide change from a standstill. What I would think about is, if you were to map out the community, where are some pockets that you can start to move into and engage and cultivate together. I don't mean cultivate in terms of you're acting upon people, but together cultivate that pocket with the people who are in it. In an innovation mindset, right? We're creating something. And how do you strategically, I would say ruthlessly, I always say to folks, if you want to create hope, you have to be ruthless. I would think about where I can go into pockets and begin to develop champions and develop those pockets so that those pockets will then create other pockets for you and they become your best ambassadors. And you have to think of this as a relationship management effort, to use business terms, not a project effort. Like, what does it really mean to know your community? What does it mean to operate in an authentic way? What would it mean for us to hold ourselves really accountable? Not through metrics, but because of the pledges and promises we make to people, right? What's the difference between implementing a project and kickstarting organic change or that might potentially turn into a movement?